Did Prime Minister Sudani just drop the biggest bombshell in the history of the Iraqi dinar? Currency watchers across the globe are holding their breath tonight after a shocking announcement from Baghdad that could change everything we thought we knew about Iraq's financial future. Imagine this one statement, just a few sentences, but powerful enough to send waves through global markets, online trading forums, and investor communities everywhere. People who never cared about the dinar before are suddenly glued to their screens, trying to figure out what this could mean for their money, their investments, and perhaps even the balance of power in the Middle East. Could this really be the long-awaited turning point for the dinar? Or is it just another political promise that may take years to materialize? Stick with me until the very end of this video, because the details we're about to break down are both eye-opening and potentially game-changing. Prime Minister Mohammed Sudani took to the stage during a press conference in Baghdad and gave what many are now calling a historic speech. For years, Iraq's leaders have talked about reforms, promised progress, and highlighted the nation's oil wealth, but rarely have they spoken so directly about currency adjustments. This time, Sudani didn't shy away from the issue. He talked openly about Iraq's plan to strengthen the dinar and position it more firmly on the international stage. His exact words carried a tone of confidence. Iraq is ready to take its rightful place in the international financial system. These words alone were enough to light a fire under investors worldwide. But what exactly did he mean? And more importantly, how will these plans actually unfold? That's where things get really interesting, because his speech laid out several key steps that could, if successful, change the Iraqi economy forever. First, Sudani emphasized a bold move, reducing Iraq's dependence on the US dollar for internal transactions. Right now, if you walk through Iraqi markets, or even look at large-scale contracts, many of them are denominated in dollars. This reliance weakens the position of the dinar and keeps Iraq in a financial shadow. By shifting more transactions to the local currency, Sudani hopes to create stronger demand for the dinar inside the country. Think about it this way: the more Iraqis use their own money, the more value it could hold. This isn't just about pride or symbolism. It's about building financial independence. And if they can actually enforce these policies, it could push the dinar into a whole new league. But, of course, breaking free from dollar dependence is easier said than done. It requires coordination with businesses, banks, and even international partners. The second major point from Sudani's announcement focused on banking reforms. Iraqi banks have long struggled to keep up with global standards. Years of sanctions, corruption, and outdated systems left them cut off from the international stage. Now, the government is rolling out a series of new regulations meant to modernize the system. Imagine Iraqi banks being able to easily connect with global networks, making transactions smoother and more transparent. For investors, this is a massive signal. It shows that Iraq is not only talking about reforms, but actually putting steps in place to make its financial institutions competitive. Stronger banks mean more trust. And more trust usually means more foreign money flowing into the country. This could increase demand for the dinar, further supporting Sudani's long-term vision of a stronger national currency. Oil production was another key highlight of the speech. Iraq has always been known for its oil reserves, ranking among the top in the world. But oil potential doesn't mean much if it stays untapped. Sudani revealed plans to boost production by an additional 500,000 barrels per day. Do the math, and you're looking at billions of extra dollars in revenue every year. That kind of money can do wonders for a country's financial system. It can stabilize budgets, fund infrastructure projects, and, most importantly, give real backing to the dinar. For currency traders, this was one of the biggest takeaways. When a country's revenue streams expand, confidence in its currency grows. However, the oil market is unpredictable. Prices fluctuate daily and political issues can disrupt production. Still, the potential upside here is enormous, and Sudani's timing seems deliberate. He announced this just as global oil markets are holding steady. Beyond economics, Sudani made sure to highlight political stability. Iraq has faced years of turmoil from wars to internal divisions. But in recent months, signs of improvement have begun to emerge. Relationships with neighboring countries are being rebuilt, anti-corruption measures are gaining traction, and international partners are showing renewed interest in working with Baghdad. This shift is crucial because investors don't just look at numbers, they look at stability. A strong economy on paper means little if a country is on the brink of conflict. Sudani's speech appeared carefully designed to reassure both Iraqis and foreign observers that the nation is finally turning a corner. If Iraq can maintain this stability while pushing forward with reforms, the environment becomes ripe for a stronger currency. Now, let's talk about why this matters for anyone holding Iraqi dinars today. For years, there has been speculation about a revaluation, or RV, of the dinar. Supporters believe the currency is undervalued compared to Iraq's massive oil reserves and growing economic potential. Critics, on the other hand, call it a pipe dream. Sudani's announcement has reignited this debate. The fact that he openly mentioned currency adjustments gives fresh hope to dinar holders who have been waiting patiently, some for decades. Suddenly, the possibility of a revaluation doesn't seem so far-fetched. But here's the catch: currency markets don't move overnight just because of a speech. It takes action, policy implementation, and real results on the ground to make it happen. The buzz isn't just in Iraq. Global markets have started to take notice too. Online trading forums are filled with heated discussions, currency exchange websites are reporting spikes in dinar inquiries, and financial analysts are scrambling to interpret Sudani's words. This kind of global attention is rare for Iraq, which is usually overshadowed by larger economies in the region. But today, Iraq is in the spotlight, and every move they make will be closely watched by investors and governments alike. Some believe that this surge in interest could itself create momentum. When enough people start buying into a currency, that demand can create real upward pressure. But there's also a danger: speculation can quickly spiral into bubbles. And bubbles, as history shows, always burst. One of the most interesting comparisons being made is to Kuwait. After the Gulf War in the 1990s, the Kuwaiti dinar was severely weakened. But with careful planning, strong policies, and international support, it bounced back to become one of the strongest currencies in the world. Optimists argue that Iraq could follow a similar path, especially with its oil wealth and growing international partnerships. However, skeptics warn that Iraq still faces challenges Kuwait didn't, such as infrastructure rebuilding, corruption, and political divides. Whether Iraq can replicate Kuwait's success remains to be seen, but the possibility adds to the excitement surrounding Sudani's announcement. It's also important to think about Iraq's relationship with the United States. The U.S. still has significant influence over Iraq's banking system. Any major shift in currency policy will almost certainly require coordination, or at least approval from Washington. That adds a layer of complexity to Sudani's vision. It's not just about what Iraq wants, it's also about what global powers are willing to support. And let's not forget Iraq's regional neighbors like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Kuwait. They all have a stake in how Iraq's economy develops. A stronger dinar could change trade balances, shift alliances, and even spark competition. This regional dynamic makes Iraq's next steps even more critical. International organizations like the IMF and World Bank could also play a role. These groups often provide guidance and support for countries pursuing major economic reforms. Their endorsement could lend credibility to Sudani's plans and attract more foreign investors. At the same time, their involvement usually comes with conditions. Iraq may have to meet strict requirements for transparency, governance, and economic discipline. For now, there hasn't been any public statement from these organizations, but you can bet they are closely monitoring developments. Their potential involvement could either accelerate Iraq's progress or slow it down depending on how negotiations unfold. Another key factor to consider is infrastructure. Iraq is still in recovery mode after decades of conflict and instability. Power grids, transportation systems, and communication networks all need major upgrades. These projects require heavy spending, which could either support or strain the currency depending on how funds are managed. If Iraq uses its increased oil revenues wisely, these investments could boost long-term growth and make the dinar stronger. But if corruption or mismanagement drains resources, the reforms could stall. This is why Sudani's leadership will be tested in the coming months. His ability to not only announce plans but also execute them will determine whether the dinar's future shines bright or remains uncertain. Let's not forget about the role of psychology in markets. Sometimes, perception is just as powerful as reality. If enough people believe the dinar is on the rise, their actions, whether buying, trading, or investing, can actually push the currency upward. This self-fulfilling prophecy effect is part of what makes currency speculation so fascinating. But it also makes it risky. The same psychology that drives optimism can flip into panic if people lose confidence. That's why Sudani's words carry so much weight. Every phrase, every promise, and every timeline he hints at will shape how people act in the markets. Right now, confidence seems to be rising, but whether it holds will depend entirely on what happens next. So where does this leave everyday investors who are curious about the dinar? The most important advice is caution. Currency speculation can be rewarding, but it's also unpredictable. No one, not even top analysts, can say with certainty where the dinar will go next. If you're considering getting involved, only invest what you can afford to lose. Diversify your portfolio, do your research, and pay attention to multiple sources of information. Don't let hype or fear drive your decisions. Remember, this announcement is historic, but the outcome is still unfolding. The weeks and months ahead will provide more clarity, but for now, it's about watching closely and staying informed. Looking ahead, there are several possible scenarios. If Sudani's reforms succeed, we could see a gradual strengthening of the dinar, supported by oil revenues, banking improvements, and political stability. This would be the best-case scenario for Iraq and for investors. On the other hand, if challenges like corruption, regional tensions, or falling oil prices disrupt progress, the dinar could remain weak for years to come. There's also the middle ground, small gains here and there without a full revaluation. That might not match the dreams of dinar holders hoping for a sudden jump, but it could still mark steady progress for the country. Either way, this announcement marks a turning point. For the first time in years, the possibility of real change is on the table. In conclusion, Prime Minister Sudani's announcement has shaken markets and reignited global attention on the Iraqi dinar. His vision of reducing dollar dependence, modernizing banks, and boosting oil production paints a picture of a more independent and powerful Iraq. But the road ahead is full of challenges, and nothing is guaranteed. For now, the world is watching, waiting, and speculating. Could this be the beginning of a historic revaluation, or will it turn out to be another chapter in Iraq's long struggle to rebuild its economy? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The Iraqi dinar is once again at the center of global financial conversations. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure you hit that like button, share this video with others following the dinar story, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates as this situation continues to develop.